Well, today's jobs data shows fewer Americans lost their jobs last month, but those already out of work aren't finding new ones. That's troublesome. And that sent the unemployment rate to a 25-year high of 9.4%.
What does Congress think of these numbers? Joining us now, Republican Congressman Vern Buchanan of Florida. Plus, we have Mark Weisbrot. He's economist and co-director of the Center for Economic Policy Research. Good to see you both. Representative, I'll begin with you. We knew we shouldn't be surprised no matter what happened with these numbers, but I'm not sure anybody was expecting the upside better than expected number that we got as a surprise. Tell me how you view these numbers right now in the grand scheme of the recession.
When I look at the numbers at large, we've got a lot of work to do. I'm a person that grew up in the private sector, 30 years in business for myself, a couple of years in Congress, but the mindset needs to be right now, what can we do to help small business? I ran a town hall meeting last week. We had 150 people show up, small businesses. I asked everybody, can you get credit? Is the banks working with you? Everybody in the room raised their hand, said they had a problem getting credit available. We had SBA and other agencies there to help these businesses. But at the end of the day, small business creates 70% of the jobs. We've got to do what we can to help them be more successful.
Well, and we'll talk about your Job Creation Act in just a moment, but I want to talk to Mark for a second, because if we focus on small and mid-sized businesses, which are the real backbone of America, they do most of the hiring here, most of them don't take bank loans. They get savings to start their businesses. They get money from friends, which they borrow money from. And the shadow banking community, which has almost disappeared, is where most of the money came from for those small businesses. How do we encourage people to get money on that sort of non-banking areas that in the past have been so important to them?
Well, the problem is deeper, I'm afraid, than just credit. You know, people are looking at it as primarily a financial crisis, but what we're seeing, you know, you could solve all the problems with credit in the financial system tomorrow, and you still would not have an economic recovery. You'd still have a very deep recession, because we had a collapse of an $8 trillion housing bubble. In fact, $2 trillion of wealth has been lost just this year alone. And when that happens, people have to restore the savings rate. And so consumption is falling, the housing sector is still falling, investment is falling and weak. And so given all these pressures in the real economy, it's not just the financial economy, and you know, 345,000 jobs lost is still very bad, you know, and you know, I mean, people think every time there's a number that's not as bad as the last month, that's the sign of a turnaround. That's not the sign of a turnaround. You have sectors like manufacturing, construction, where you can't lose as many jobs as you did last month. They just won't. It's not possible. And so it really, we have a long way to go. And unfortunately, the stimulus is too weak, too small, relative to the fall-off in private demand that we've had.
Let me let the representative comment on that. Do you think the stimulus is too small? There are a lot of people who thought it was too huge, and we're just sort of waiting to see that work its way through to help household balance sheets.
Well, in terms of the stimulus, we thought, I voted for a stimulus, not this one. It's about half the size, but create twice as many jobs. But the biggest disappointment, I get back to the small business sector, and I guess I say that because I was chairman of the Florida Chamber. We had 137,000 businesses representing that federation, and they create 70% of the jobs. But only 3% of the stimulus really went to small business. I think that's a shame. They're the job generators, and we're not doing much or anything for the small business community.
The Obama administration representative has come out with a pretty significant small business plan that would give them all kinds of opportunities and tax breaks and things like that. I mean, I'm not sure that that's really fair to say that they've done nothing.
Well, when I did talk to the president about 2 weeks ago, I was in the White House with him with a thing, and they are doing more in SBA. But I think there's a lot more that can be done. I'm just telling you, I'm out there in the real world. I've had 5 town hall meetings. People are hurting, can't get credit to buy. Working families can't get credit like they did. Small businesses are still having a big time with credit. The whole thing on taxes and other things, there's still a lot of work to be done.
Congressman, before you go, we want to talk a little bit about your Job Creation Act. What does that do for small and mid-sized businesses?
Well, in my section of it is expand SCORE, counseling, and then it also does a lot in terms of helping women and other various groups in getting counseling to them to help them start and build their businesses, help them with business planning. So we're trying to do everything we can. But again, the bigger picture is We've got to do what we can in terms of, I think, helping them with small business, helping them, in terms of getting credit, keeping their taxes low, staying away from frivolous lawsuits. Anything we can do to help small business, that's what we're trying to do.
Mark, we've got just a few seconds left. When do you perceive that the unemployment rate will top out? 2010, 11?
Myself, I think...
Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I think it's going to continue worsening through most of next year for sure, I would say.
Okay.
And Congressman, very quickly, where does it bottom out or top out the unemployment rate?
I'm hoping at the end of the year we start getting better news and we start getting on our way to a recovery. That's my sense of it.
All right. Mark Weisbrot and Congressman Vern Buchanan, good to see you both. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The company known for NASCAR and Indy racing is now turning to passenger cars. Yes, we'll tell you about